Hi, good morning everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I know it has been an absolute age since I've been on here, but it's been a manic couple of months. Basically, as you're all aware, Rob and I are going through our IVF journey. I have been trying to update you guys, but it hasn't really been happening recently. To say I have been up and down has been a little bit of an understatement, but it's going, and it's going so quickly. It is just unbelievable. I did do a very short video on the way up to one of our hospital appointments previously, so I will insert that here. So the last appointment that we had for IVF was the 13th of September. That was for part 1 of our treatment plan. So it was a video appointment that we had. We had to find out which drugs we were going to be taking, what's going to be happening with injections, how those injections are actually going to be done. Which we know it is going to be Rob that's going to be taught how to do those, so that's quite exciting. I think he's more excited than I am, if I'm honest. So yeah, that is what happened last. We found out that there are going to be lots of different points coming up with all of this, so it works out that we go we have to go to Cardiff once more. Actually, we were meant to be going to Port Talbot next, but there's been an issue with their systems being updated and things like that, so they're going to keep us in Cardiff for this next appointment, which is part 2 of the treatment plan. But just going back to part 1 for a minute, basically what's going to happen is they are going to start me off on the 21st day of my cycle on tablets. That will be for approximately 7 days, I believe. After those tablets have been done and my cycle starts, they will then get Rob to start doing the injections. Those injections can last anything from 8 to 12 days, but on the 8th day I would need to go to Port Talbot and have scans on my follicles to make sure that they are either long enough or grown enough for them to be collected and for them to then take the next step. If on the 8th day when they do that scan and they decide that it isn't enough, then they will continue our injections until the 12th day. Either way, either if it's the 8th day or the 12th day, we will then go back to Port Talbot, and I will be told to take a tablet, and that tablet has to be taken 36 hours before egg collection. I will then go to Port Talbot, and they've said that I can walk down to theatre. I will go into theatre and be, I can't think of the word, I know I'm going to be sedated and put to sleep, but it's going to be like a light sleep where I'm going to be able to breathe and everything for myself. They've said that I would be allowed to take something to listen to just to keep myself comfortable, because I do get sort of very freaked out by these sorts of things. I've never been put to sleep before, so that is sort of like a big thing for me. Once that's then been done, Rob will have produced a sample for them, and that evening, or that day I should say, they will then see if an embryo can be made. So they need to make sure that my eggs are viable. Now, I didn't know that this was a thing, but when they say viable, it means that the eggs are mature enough to be fertilised to become an embryo. If they're not mature enough, then that would cause them to be not viable, and we go back to the drawing board and see whether or not we can actually have IVF done a second time, or whether it's game over. Following that then, if everything goes as it should do, and as we hope, then it will be a further sort of 24 hours before we find out if that embryo is made. and a further 5 days then before it is reimplanted. The reimplantation is a very, very easy and simple procedure. It's basically a catheter that goes up inside and the embryo gets passed through that into where it needs to go. For that time I will be on some other tablets, and I will remain on those tablets until we find out if the pregnancy has held or not. Or until we find out, should I say, that I am pregnant. So that would be for approximately 2.5, maybe 3 weeks. Once then that happens, or if that happens, that's the hope obviously, we would then wait a further 3 weeks and be able to go for a first scan. So it would mean that if everything goes as planned, then we would end up being able to have an early pregnancy scan. So that is the treatment itself. It's all been a little bit crazy for me because everything that I've not wanted to sort of hear about, I've had to now hear about. So I have gone a little bit haywire and a little bit off the rails, but I'm doing okay. So from a mental standpoint, the team have been absolutely amazing, because on that appointment on the 13th of September, they assigned me a counsellor for IVF, which I've already met her. It was through video chat, and she seems lovely. We're going to have her a lot for me to lean on, especially. Rob is going to meet her as well, so he will be present and with me at some of those appointments, especially after sort of like egg collection and things like that. So yeah, he will be there for some of those appointments, which will be great. It'll also be nice for him to be able to have somebody to talk to as well. As we all know, you know, there's not a lot really out there for male fertility support, which I think really needs to change. So yeah, I'll be glad and happy for him to be able to have a chat with her as well. Following on from that appointment then, we were asked to go and have some more STD checks. The last ones that we had were coming out of date, so for our treatment in October, if we were to have waited, that would have been something that would have delayed us, because without those STD checks being done, we wouldn't be able to progress further, and they like them being done within 3 months of treatment starting. So on the 14th of September we actually went up to Cardiff. We went up just to have those swabs and sort of urine tests and stuff like that done. So yeah, that was quite a bit of a whirlwind, because we found out about that on the 13th, and on the 14th we were on the road and off up to Cardiff again. So sort of fast forward into now, last week I had a phone call, or beginning of this week I believe it was, to say that we now have our next appointment for part 2 of the treatment plan on the 5th of October. That is, as I say, going to be up in Cardiff again. So that is actually Tuesday coming. I am a lot more sort of calm than I thought I was going to be. There's still time for everything to change. I am a little bit annoyed and upset that the appointment can't go ahead in Port Talbot, because originally what they were going to be able to do was show me around the facility, the hospital. They were going to be able to show me sort of where I'm going to be going to recover after the sedation and after the procedures, and just show me around everywhere where we need to go and all the rest of it. So it would have been nice to have that sort of there and ready for us, but it doesn't look like that's going to be able to happen now until we actually go in for the start of treatment. So yeah, that appointment now is on Tuesday the 5th, as I say. They are going to be teaching Rob how to do my injections. They will be able to give us the laid out plan of everything. Everything will be written down. By then, this October cycle should have started. So they will be given the dates that it did start, and they should then be able to calculate up to the 21st day for me, and we should have, after Tuesday, a more cemented in date for when treatment starts, which is a very, very, very scary prospect. But it's also a very good thing. We've waited so long for all of this that as scary as it is, and as scary as it is going to be, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot more meltdowns, especially from me. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of hard and difficult times to come, but it is a very good step, and it is all moving so quickly, and it's sort of coming at us like a train approaching the station. It's insane, it really is. But I'm apprehensive, but I'm excited. I don't think I say that enough. I don't think I tell people how excited I am enough and things like that. There is always a lot of apprehension. I've been told with like some of the side effects of like injections and that there's going to be a lot of bloating and heavy feelings inside. So I'm just going to sort of try and take each day as it comes. I may end up working in pyjamas, so if any of my managers see this, I am extremely sorry, but all video calls will be off. I think I'm just going to try and keep myself as comfortable as I can be and get through each day, one day at a time, 1 hour at a time if it has to be, and just keep going like that, really. It's daunting knowing everything that's coming, but it's also nice to sort of know and understand everything that's happening now. I think it's going to be a very difficult road to travel, but again, you know, got to be a few bumps in the road, right? Following then on from all of those appointments, the last appointment that you saw, I believe we were going up to the hospital, and that was to get all of our medications and just check that everything was on the sort of home straight for starting our IVF process. From there then, we're now in November. I think we're the 14th of November, 13th of November. So the last sort of 6 to 8 days, I'll double check. So the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, the last 10 days then we have been doing our IVF hormone injections. We've got Meriafert and Cetrotide. The Meriafert we did for 4 days. That was done on its own. We had to sort of pick a time to start getting them done, and we had to then do them at the same time every evening. So as was for around 6:30 thereabouts, they've all been around sort of 6:30, 7 o'clock every day. We then moved on to Cetrotide. So we had to do the Meriafert and the Cetrotide again around the same time every evening. The Meriafert injections, they're difficult to explain. So we had 5 75-gram, well, milligram bottles with 1 bottle of water. We had to mix all of that into the injection for it to then be the 1 injection. The Cetrotide was sort of half done for us, so the water was already in the syringe, but we had to then plunge it into the powder bottle. It took a little bit longer to dissolve and then put that into the syringe as well. So the Meriafert we were finding, the first one, and poor Rob, he's had to do all of these for me because I am rubbish with injections and needles and anything like that. So the first one, I bit his head off before the injection because he was so nervous, bless him. He's never done injections on anybody. So before the first injection, I bit his head off completely. I ended up sobbing myself. It was a mess, an absolute mess. Once the injection had gone in, it took around 5 minutes for the burning and tingling and painful sensation to subside. I just remember sort of pacing the kitchen back and forth and crying and not really knowing where to stand or what to do or anything like that. It was really weird. So we did those ones for then, as I say, 4 days before we then had to introduce the Cetrotide injection. As I said, the Cetrotide was, it seemed so thick. like, there aren't enough words, there aren't any words really to describe it, but all I can say is when that got injected, for me, like, this may not happen for everybody, but for me it felt like someone was injecting a golf ball into my stomach, and afterwards you could actually like feel a lump where it went in. It was really weird. Once it had been done, the skin went really red, like it was almost like there was a rash in the skin, and that sort of tingling, pain, burning sensation lasted for about an hour, and it has been the case sort of going forward. That hasn't changed or subsided or anything like that. It's still around an hour's time of uncomfortableness and pain. Now, everybody is different, so if you are going to be going through IVF or have been through it and you've experienced different things, that is normal. Everybody's body is different, everybody has different pain thresholds and all the rest of it. So the first 3 days of the Mary fit really made me rough. I was still trying to sort of continue working, but it did really sort of send me sideways. I was nauseous, I had this blinding headache, and I also sort of, there was one or two nights where I was sick, but only very slightly, but I was still so hungry. That hunger didn't seem to subside at all. Like, that was still there 100%, which was really weird. I've never been a person that's felt so sick and still wanted to eat all in the same sort of breath. It's normally, if I'm feeling sick, I'm in bed or I'm on the sofa, and that's me. I'll just drink water and hope to God that the sickness sort of subsides. But with this, I was feeling so nauseous all the time, yet I was still eating all the time. But the headache, oh my gosh, that headache. And like, paracetamol was the only thing I was advised that I could take, and it was just a case of riding the waves and getting through it. So that's sort of what I did. But oh, that headache was just horrific. Again, these are just my side effects. It may be that you have different or milder side effects, so please don't worry and try to just take all of this in your stride. So we are now on cycle day 12. That's today. So we last week were actually up at the hospital on Wednesday, Thursday and Friday, and the hospital for us at the moment is in Port Albert, Neath Port Albert. So it's a fair old jaunt from where we are, which is great. On Wednesday our appointment was for 9:30 in the morning, so we sort of left, I believe it was like 7:45 by the time we got out of the house and actually left. We were still there really early, which Rob was not impressed about, but you know, what can you do? That day I had to have an internal scan. It was to see whether the Mariofit and the Cetrotide were actually doing their job and doing what they were meant to be doing. So we had to have a follicle measure. They're not painful scans, sorry, they're just tic-tac, no, they're just extremely uncomfortable. So, you know, you get a wand that's essentially this big with a giant condom on it and a load of lube at the end, and my first thought is, where the hell are you putting that then? Obviously I know, I'm a grown-up, I'm a big girl, I know that not all of it goes where it's meant to, but it's still the first thought of, great, okay. So they did the scan, everything was measuring around sort of, the follicles were measuring anywhere from below 10 millimeters to 10 to 12 to 16. We also had COVID swabs done that day as well, so there was that. They then decided when we were going to be taking our Mariofit and Cetrotide too. So that was on Wednesday, which would have been the 10th. We then went back up on the Thursday, and that was for Rob to have bloods done, and just some other little bits and pieces. I'm not really sure what it was that he had to have done. That was then Again, they just wanted to take some bloods from myself as well, just to make sure that everything was how it should have been, now with all of the injections going into us and things like that. On Friday then, the 12th, yesterday we went back up, and I had another measure of all of my follicles. Rob unfortunately wasn't actually able to come in for this appointment, and it was quite a long appointment as well. It was quite annoying for him, bless him, because he just has to sit in the car due to COVID. It's really difficult having to sort of go into the hospital on your own and have to deal with such a personal thing that is so sort of true for both of you. It affects both of you so much in everyday life, you know. Not everybody has it, but I know I am constantly thinking about it. So it is really difficult. So as I was saying then, when you're going through something that is so personal to you, and usually for most couples this is a very, very private sort of thing to go through, it's difficult then knowing that, you know, your other half, your better half, your significant other, the person that is meant to go through this whole journey with you, isn't actually able to be a part of some of it. You know, obviously I'm not saying I want Rob there in the room with me while I'm having like scans done and things like that, but knowing that he was in the waiting room would have been a lot easier to sort of swallow than knowing that he was sat outside in the car park, in the car, on his own essentially. I know he's fine, but I always worry about him worrying about me, and it's a bit of a vicious circle, and anybody that goes through this will know exactly what I mean. So Fridays then, the scan, it was checking that everything was ready to go ahead for egg collection. So there was, I believe, 2 follicles under 10 millimeters. Everything else was 12, 16, 18, and I believe there was one that was 22, so good looking out there, follicle, thanks. So everything is go now for the egg collection, which is actually going to take place on Monday the 15th, which is 2 days away. So I am super excited, super nervous, overwhelmed, just every single emotion that you can imagine is pretty much what I'm feeling right now, which is amazing, and I'm still smiling, and I am, yeah, I can't believe it's all going and it's all happening just so quickly. You know, I've been talking about this for months, and the lead up to this for months, and now all of a sudden today's my last day on injections. But because IVF is the gift that just keeps on giving, tonight I have my Meriofit as normal, I have my Std as normal. They'll both be done at around 6:30 again, when my alarm goes off, or whether I remember to do it and get them preloaded before 6:30. We don't know, it just depends on what I'm doing, to be honest. Not only do I have those 2 today, I also then have the trigger injection, and that trigger injection is to be done at 10:30. So after the appointment yesterday, when I left the hospital, they said, right, you know, we've got to scan everybody, we're going to find out everybody which order people are going to be going in for the egg collection to be done. Once we've then done that, we'll speak to the doctors and we'll be able to determine then what time the trigger injections need to be done, what time you need to be at the hospital on Monday, whether it will go ahead for Monday. We need to find all of that out for you. So around 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon, they gave me a call back, and again, written on my trusty piece of paper, it said that we needed to do the Std and Meriofit as normal, and then 10:30 p.m. tonight we need to do the trigger injection. Now this injection, it's called the trigger injection because it's going to trigger the eggs to become mature. So only mature eggs can actually be viable for collection and for the embryo to be created and then to be reimplanted. Anything that isn't mature or aren't viable will then have to just be destroyed, sadly. So the trigger injection is all preloaded, it's ready to go. They've said it is quite a thick injection and that there is an air bubble in the syringe. Now the air bubble is to ensure that all of that liquid goes into your tummy, basically. They said it's to ensure that there is enough pressure with the plunger itself to really get it in. So that one is in the fridge. I believe it needs to be taken out sort of 10-15 minutes before, again, like the Cetrotide does. Key tip with the Cetrotide injections, I actually had this given to me by my friend, so good looking out there, mate, because honestly the first one I did cry on a lot. Take the Cetrotide injection out at least half an hour before you need to inject it into your tummy. Take it out of the fridge, because the warmer it is, the easier it is going in. Not only for you, but for the person that's actually doing the injection. It makes it so much easier. And yeah, the first one, I could really feel Rob struggling to push that into my tummy, and being on the receiving end of that was not nice. And the swear words that came out of my mouth afterwards also were not nice. But you know, it had to be done. There's nothing that we could do, it just had to be done. So yeah, to my friend that told me to take it out of the fridge at least half an hour before, you are my saviour. Thank you so much. I think you have literally saved saved my life this week, so cheers for that. So what's going to happen now is, as I said, the trigger injection at 10:30. That needs to be done 36 hours before I go to theatre to have the egg collection completed. So on Monday morning, much to our deep joy, we've got to be at the hospital for 8 AM. Once we're at the hospital, again, Rob is not allowed to come in with me. He has an appointment time at 9:30 to give his sample, but other than that, he is not allowed in the hospital with me. So that makes me a little bit anxious. All I would want for him to do is walk me up to the ward, give me a kiss and say that everything is going to be okay, but sadly he can't do that, and that is one thing that is really sort of bugging me. I appreciate that hospitals have to be the safest place on the planet right now. I appreciate that there is a global pandemic happening, and I appreciate, you know, everything that goes with that. But the fact that if I really wanted to, I could go to a pub with 30 of my friends and family and get absolutely sloshed and hug the world, yet I can't have the one person that I really, truly, deeply need to come to a hospital with me that affects him as much as it does me. That, at the moment, is really, really grinding my gears. So I'm going to move on from this, because I'm going to say something that I'm really going to, well, I'm not even going to say I'm going to regret it, because I'm not. But I don't want to start an all-out riot, so yeah, let's move on. So basically the hospital have said that I should be in the hospital from around 8 AM in the morning until around 12 PM on Monday. So they've advised me to bring snacks and a drink for after the procedure. They say that there is sedation. It's not so much sedation, it's more painkiller. So they are going to drug me, basically. There's no easy words, no better words for it, really. Basically, they're going to be giving me morphine and Valium, and it can go one of 3 ways for each person. So basically, I could either be completely knocked out and come round when I come round and be like, woohoo, yeah, that's all done, I'm hungry, let's eat, let's go. Or it could be that I'm in and out for a little bit and come round and eat and go. Or it could be that I am just in no pain at all, but I am able to sit up and, not sit up, but lay there and chat to the anaesthetist the whole time through the procedure, and happy Sundays. Now, personally, I hate the thought of being put to sleep, so I would rather be sort of awake and in no pain at all and just get through it that way. But, you know, we don't know how I'm gonna sort of take it. I've never had morphine before, I've never ever touched a Valium in my life. I do not know, I have no idea what is going to happen the sort of strongest drug that I've ever had is codeine, so no idea, but you know, we'll see what happens. They've advised me to take my own dressing gown and slippers to walk from wherever it is I need to walk to down to the theatre. So yeah, it's all really happening now. It's all getting very, very real, and I'm, like I said, really, really excited but really, really nervous all at the same time, and I think that will continue. But I think everybody's different and every journey is different, and I think for me it hasn't been as bad as I thought it was going to be. I'm obviously anxious that they get all the eggs that they need and that there are viable ones that we can use, but only time will tell. And so far this whole journey and experience has been very, very sort of plain sailing. I'm not going to say it's been easy, because it's not easy. It's not easy for anybody. It's not easy for your friends or family. It really is a difficult sort of journey for everybody, and there's a lot of worry, and apparently there's a nose on my screen, so sorry about that. But yeah, there is always a lot of worry and things like that when it comes to IVF. But all I can say is, if you've got a good strong support network, even if that is just your partner, your husband, whoever that is, you will be fine. You will get through it, and it will be difficult, and you will cry and you will feel very emotional, but you need to just take the time to feel everything. You know, whatever those feelings are, just feel them. If you're happy, you're happy. If you're sad, you're sad. If you don't know what you're feeling but you feel like you need to cry, just cry. You know, I've watched the Harry Potter series, the Harry Potter films, for as long as I can remember, for as many times a year as I can remember. I've read all the books, I've listened to the audiobooks, I've done it all. Anything surrounding Harry Potter I've pretty much done. I've been there, I've lived it. Yeah. I was having such a bad day the other week that Dumbledore died. I knew it was coming, and I sat here sobbing. And then I sat here hysterically laughing because I sobbed at the fact that Dumbledore died, and I've never cried over that fact. So, guys, let yourself feel it. Catch up on the sofa with a blanket, have cuddles with the puppy, annoy your husband, your partners, your significant others, because why not? You're getting pumped through a load of hormones and you deserve to be as annoying as anything. So just do it, just feel it. However you can get through it, get through it. And if you ever need to talk to anybody, please go and check out my Facebook and my Instagram. So my Instagram is Jodie-marie Clark. Go and just drop me a message on there, drop a comment or a like in the comments on YouTube. Please don't forget to like, or I should say hit the notification bell and subscribe to my channel, and let's see if we can't just help one person out there who is going through this same journey. So thank you so much for watching this one. I will try to keep you updated as much as possible next week. I wish you all the best. Keep smiling, everyone. Bye.